Hello everyone and welcome to Newegg TV. My name is Paul. Here in the studio today we have Richard from WD. How you doing, Richard?
Doing great, Paul. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming here. I understand we have a new series of hard drives available from Western Digital, and I'm just going to take a guess here. I know we've got the reds, we've got the blacks, we've got the blues, we've got the greens, so it's got to be one of those, right, that we're talking about today?
We've got a new color.
We got
Paul.
a new color?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so purple is...
We have purple.
All right, so we're adding another color to the spectrum. Pretty much we're going to have the whole rainbow from Western Digital very soon. But these are the WD purple drives. And why did WD feel the need to create a new color of drive?
So Paul, we have actually colors because of the different types of applications that the hard drives are used in.
Okay.
So as you mentioned, the other colors, for instance, blue is for everyday computing or PC usage. Green gets us a lot of capacity. The black is high performance. Mm-hmm. And then the red is for NAS. And now we have a purple drive that is optimized for the surveillance market.
Okay, so when you talk about surveillance, to me, there seems to be some similarity here between the NAS drives that we're already familiar with, the WD Reds, and the purple drives. So to my mind, I look at this type of application as these are drives that are going to be always on. They're going to be 24/7 usage. But where is the other difference there? Why is there a need for a purple as well as a red drive?
So actually, if you look at the usage and the operation that each type of application does to the drive, it's actually quite different.
Okay.
And for surveillance, it's a very high write-intensive application with low bitrate streams and many streams, because you have multiple and many cameras all feeding into one system.
So the actual data that's being written to the drive, whereas with the NAS you might have to be dealing with any variety of type of data, because a NAS could be used for storage of a bunch of video files or a bunch of very small files, or it could be used as almost a server type environment. Here we're dealing with a much more specific use case.
Exactly.
And a type of data being written to the drives that you guys can sort of preempt a little bit, and you know what kind of data is being written, so you can tune the drive specifically for that type of application?
Exactly. So NAS and PCs, the operation might be random, but in a surveillance application, it's pretty much a consistent and steady usage. So since we know that, we can optimize the firmware to get better performance for it.
Excellent. So we have a bit of a demonstration here set up right in front of us. I really like these drives because they have windows on them. We don't see that very often. Haven't really seen that since the WD Raptor drives that came out many years ago, but those were very popular amongst enthusiasts. But these three drives in here are actually set up with a bit of special sauce in the firmware to emulate specific types of use case scenarios.
Correct.
So starting with this one on our right, the viewer's left, what is that drive doing?
So this drive is set up with a typical application for a PC. So this is running a typical Windows type application, running PowerPoint, Excel, also internet applications, and you can see that actually it looks like it's not doing anything right now, but it is. The drive is actually spinning. You can see the hub is spinning. You cannot see the screws, but the actuator and arm part of the hard drive is actually standing still, and that's probably because it's just simply reading or writing.
And this is more of like a home use or an office use.
And you can see right now, actually, the drive just spun down.
So that's
so
because
it stopped.
Nobody's doing anything with it, so the drive's like, all right, I'll take a break for a while.
You're not always doing things on a PC, and so sometimes it spins down.
And then in the center we have an AV drive, so audio, video, or maybe something like a DVR set-top box.
Correct, exactly. So this one, where this is not built for 24/7 usage, this one is, because it is a set-top box. And you can see this is running an application which is simulating 3 streams. 2 recording streams, like if you're recording 2 channels on your home DVR, and 1 playback, for instance, if you're watching a TV show.
Okay.
So you can see this one is working a little bit more. The actuator arm and heads are moving more, recording those 2 streams and writing 1.
All right, so definitely more activity here than you see with the typical desktop usage. And this drive is, you were talking to me earlier, this drive does have some additional special sauce in the hardware to make sure that it's going to be able to stand up to 24/7 usage.
To get that better reliability.
But even when talking about that type of implementation, like you would with a DVR set-top box or even a home NAS or something like that, going from that to surveillance drive, I mean, it's fairly obvious just looking at this drive. This one's going crazy.
Yeah, you can actually really see the difference here, because this is simulating an operation of a DVR type system with 16 cameras, recording and playing back at the same time. So this has to do, the usage and operation of this has to do a lot more. So that's where you can really see, if you look at the difference between a surveillance and the PC system, really understand, since it's doing such a different type of application and workload, then we can actually optimize and the drive to work better in it. So that's why we have different drives for different applications,
Okay, so
because
not-
the application is different.
So not just the beefier hardware for the 24/7 usage, but actually some software work, some firmware that's been implemented there to help the drive perform better with the types of multi-data streams that you're going to get. Low bit rate, but many, many streams coming in at the same time.
Yeah.
For that demonstration, since I don't know how many of you guys at home have set up a personal surveillance system, whether you're talking about setting something up in your home, whether you have a small office or something like that, you need some additional security. Or if you guys run security for a larger business and you're looking at doing 10, 20, 30, hundreds of cameras for a larger office space or warehouse or something like that, these drives are going to be more than sufficient for that type of application all across the board, right?
Yes, so correct.
Okay.
So the WD Purple drive is actually designed to handle up to an 8-bay surveillance system,
Okay.
and up to 32 high-definition cameras
All right, so, and that's for a single drive.
for a single drive.
Okay, so that's a lot. And to that end, we also have somewhat of maybe a typical surveillance system over here on our right. And this is basically the system's in there, you got your drives in there. And then, Richard, if I could ask you to possibly turn that around for us
Sure.
really quickly. I know we don't have a turntable or anything.
Yeah, so this is a typical DVR system, digital
right.
video recorder, that is used for surveillance. And you can see here, this is actually a 16-channel, or to handle 16 cameras. And you can see because there's 16 different inputs. So in this type of a system, each cam would actually plug separately into the DVR system itself.
So that's just, I wanted to give you guys a little bit more of a visual of why these drives are tuned the way they are. It's because you have so many data streams coming in. Each one of those IP cameras that is connected to it is sending its own stream, and that needs to be recorded to the DVR. And we need to make sure, it needs to be recorded to the drive, and we need to make sure that the drive has the bandwidth to capture all those data streams, because security is important.
Exactly.
And you don't want to miss a beat.
Exactly.
I guess.
Going to capture every single frame out there.
All right.
Gotta
So
catch that bad guy.
So let's talk a little bit more specifically about the implementation of the WD Purple drives. You mentioned before, as compared to the WD Red drives, hardware-wise, we actually have a lot of the same kind of mojo going on as far as what's going in there to make sure the drives will work 24 hours a day,
Correct.
365 days a year. So that's one of the main differences from a consumer drive, if I'm not mistaken?
Correct.
Okay. Have you ever seen folks take a consumer drive and drop it into a surveillance system like this? And what is the upshot of doing that?
We do see that. Actually, happens quite often. And they typically take a desktop drive and will put it in a surveillance system. However, the issue there is the performance isn't capable of handling that many streams coming in all at the same time, and being able to write all the streams as well as read all the streams if you need to go back and review the footage.
Okay.
So what happens is you can lose frames. And so we actually, in the surveillance industry, we've noticed that there's not actually a benchmark out there to capture that.
I see.
So what WD has done is we actually created our own benchmark.
Okay.
And we did that really in our efforts to optimize the firmware and the caching algorithms in the WD Purple drive to make sure that it performs better.
So in your benchmark testing, say as compared to some competing drives that were designed for the same type of function, what are the performance improvements from the Purple drives?
So if you look at us versus a competitor's drive, and if you, in a 32 camera system, Paul, our drives, we look at two different features or two different characteristics. One is commands completed, which is very important. And for a 32 camera system, typical operation, we complete 100% of the commands that are given to us.
Okay.
Where our competitor's drive is only completing 60% of the commands completed.
So that's a lot of drop frames.
Yeah, and that can be drop frames. Missing commands means you might miss a frame. And in surveillance, every second counts. You just might capture that instance where the burglar or someone is crossing the screen, and you can capture his face. And then the other thing we look at is hard drive efficiency. And that is basically how much the drive has to work to do its work.
Okay.
And in this type of situation, we run about 50% with 32 cameras efficiency. and the competitors is in the low single digits.
Okay.
So in both those type of applications and characteristics, we outperform the competition with the
So
Purple.
not just the speed to make sure that you get all those captured frames and you don't have any drop commands, but also by making a more efficient firmware, you're actually saving power, which is going to be gradually more important the larger your operation becomes, of course.
And that performance actually comes from what we call all-frame technology.
Okay.
And that enables, it's actually a caching algorithm policies where it has priorities into the writes because it's, again, a high write-intensive environment. So we know what's going to happen, we can predict it. So because we understand it, we can optimize the caching algorithms to perform better.
Excellent. So a couple questions that I think might come up in the comments, so just to preempt that. Anytime a new drive comes out, even though the drive comes out and you say, this is meant for surveillance, you're always going to have people say, well, could I just drop this into my computer and use it to store my video games or as a boot drive or something like that? Is that possible, one? And two, is that recommended?
Is it possible? Yes, it's possible.
Okay.
It will spin up and it will work. But however, we do not recommend it because, again, it is not optimized for that application.
Okay.
And actually, if you take a WD Purple drive and run it in a typical PC benchmark, PC Mark Vantage type thing, it will actually score lower than a PC drive.
Okay.
But if you take a PC drive and run it in the surveillance benchmark, it will score lower. And that's because we optimized it for the application and for surveillance.
So these being designed for specific use, if you're looking for a drive for your desktop computer at home or something like that, a WD Blue or a WD Black is probably going to serve you a bit better.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're looking for a drive, the first question is, what's the application? And then that points you to which drive you should put into that application.
Okay, my other question for you was going to be, because as we've already mentioned, security being so important, drop frames being a concern, knowing that I'm going to have no drop frames, that's very good. Would these drives also be RAID compatible if I wanted to set up some sort of redundancy?
Correct, yeah. The WD Purple drive is RAID capable.
Okay.
And we recommend up to 8 drives.
Up
RAID
to 8
up to
drives.
8 drives.
Okay, so if you get a 8 drive bay, you're good, and just get another 8 drive bay if you want more than that, or if you're going for rack mount or something.
And really
like that.
typical DVR and NVR type systems, 90% of the market is 8 bays or less.
Okay.
So we looked at the market and we decided on how many bays it needed to support so that we could cover most of the market.
Excellent. And then as far as you folks at home, if you have watched this video and you're incredibly interested now in a Purple drive, we have them right here in front of us. You will note they do have Purple on the label.
They do.
I'm very glad that you guys have maintained consistency in that.
And it says surveillance storage right on the
It
label.
does say
as well.
surveillance. It's very straightforward, and we have capacities ranging from 4, 3, 2, and 1 terabytes, or 1, 2, 3, and 4 if you like to be more sequential. So any capacity that you're interested in right now.
And
if
3.5-inch form factors.
3.5-inch form factor drives, standard SATA interface. I'm
Correct.
guessing that's SATA revision 3, 6 gigabit per second. So buy as many of these as you need, plug them all in, and if you need more than 4 terabytes, then buy more drives, I guess, is the solution there. Richard, any closing thoughts?
So thank you, Paul. Been
No
great,
problem.
and appreciate the time. And yes, so main thing is if have a surveillance system and realize that there's differences in drives, and that is based on applications. So if you have a specific application, get the right drive that fits that application. And for surveillance, that is WD Purple.
Excellent. I'd say specifically if you folks at home have set up a little home surveillance system and dropped in a non-purpose-built drive and had it fail on you, here's the solution to that. So Richard,
Definitely.
thank you so much for coming by today.
Thank you, Paul.
No problem. And thanks to you guys for watching. Of course, if you're interested in these drives, we have links down in this video's description. You can purchase them over on Newegg.com. Don't forget to hit the like button while you're down there. And we'll see you all next time on Newegg TV.